Entering 2009, Sam Bradford was on top of college football. There's no other way to put it. In his sophomore year at Oklahoma, Bradford lit the college football world on fire, throwing 50 touchdowns to just 8 interceptions and leading Oklahoma to a 12-1 record and a #1 rank in the BCS standings. He was able to beat out fellow star quarterbacks Tim Tebow and Colt McCoy for the Heisman Trophy. Heading into the 2012 draft, Bradford was the consensus top quarterback available, and he was picked #1 overall by the Rams, who believed that he'd be their next franchise quarterback for the decade to come. Flash forward 9 years and he's out of the NFL. How is that possible in a league where teams are forced to start quarterbacks like Nathan Peterman and Mark Sanchez? In this video, I'm going to do my best to explain exactly how Sam Bradford got to where he is now. Now before I begin, I spent a lot of time on this video, so if you guys enjoy it, please consider dropping a like and subscribing, as I'm a new channel and it really does help me out a lot. But without further ado guys, let's get right into it. Now a lot of people don't know this, but Sam Bradford was at one time actually a four-sport athlete. Some say he was talented enough to play Division I basketball. One hockey coach said that Bradford was one of the best players he had ever seen, but Bradford settled on football, even though he was initially overshadowed by quarterbacks like Tim Tebow and Mark Freeman. Throughout his years at Oklahoma though, Bradford was able to totally separate himself from the competition, and even though he had an injury-filled junior year, he was still the consensus top quarterback heading into the 2012 draft. When the Rams picked him, he was expected to rejuvenate a team that had struggled to get any production on offense. His time with the Rams got off to a great start in the 2010 season. He was able to beat out AJ Feely for the starting job, and even though the Rams finished 7-9, Bradford set several records. He threw a rookie record 169 straight passes without an interception. He had the most completions ever by a rookie quarterback, and he became only the third rookie quarterback to start all 16 games and throw for 3,000 yards. The other two, Matt Ryan and Peyton Manning. Keep in mind, he did all this with his leading receivers being a young Danny Amendola, Brandon Gibson, and Daniel Fells. Even though the Rams narrowly missed the playoffs, the future seemed bright as they finally had a young quarterback to build around. Then came 2011, an absolute nightmare for Bradford and the Rams. The roster was destroyed by injuries across the board. Bradford himself had to deal with a high ankle sprain, and in the 10 games he played in, he had a mediocre 6 touchdowns to 6 picks. Heading into the 2012 draft, the Rams held the #2 overall pick. Everyone was excited about two special young quarterbacks you probably heard of by now, Stanford's Andrew Luck and Baylor's Robert Griffin III. Now, everyone knew Luck would go first to the Colts, and there were calls for the Rams to just abandon Bradford and roll with RG3. But the Rams decided to stick with Sam Bradford and instead traded the second pick to the Washington Redskins, who gave up a 2012 first rounder and second rounder, as well as first round picks in 2013 and 2014. With all this ammunition, the Rams finally had a chance to build a deep and talented roster around Sam Bradford. And things got off to a great start in 2012. The 2 picks they got that year from the Redskins turned into Michael Brockers and Janoris Jenkins, 2 players who are still starting at a high level today. Bradford improved on his rookie year, putting up 21 touchdowns to 13 picks. Not incredible stats, but respectable, especially considering what little help he had in St. Louis. The Rams would end up with a 7-8-1 record. Not great, but a big improvement over the disaster that was 2011. Heading into 2013, the Rams were finally expected to make the leap. They were loaded with picks from the Redskins trade. That year, they were able to add Tavon Austin, who was expected to be kind of like what Tyreek Hill has been for the Chiefs. Of course, he would turn out to be a massive bust. However, Sam Bradford still got off to a great start to 2013, as through week 7, he had 14 touchdowns to just 4 picks. Those are pretty great numbers, but then disaster struck. He tore his ACL on a hit by Mike Mitchell in a game against the Panthers, effectively ending his season. Despite the disappointing 2013, the Rams stayed committed to Sam Bradford. They used the #2 pick from Washington to take Greg Robinson, a left tackle who many felt had Hall of Fame potential. However, none of it ended up mattering because during a preseason game against Cleveland, Bradford re-tore his ACL and missed the entire season. 7 months later, the Rams finally gave up on Sam Bradford, sending him to the Philadelphia Eagles. Before you look at Bradford's 2015 season, it's important to understand the situation that he was put into. He had to learn Chip Kelly's radical hurry-up offense, which, after taking the Eagles to the playoffs in 2013, never had success in the NFL again. Of course, it didn't help that Chip Kelly had completely dismantled the Eagles' playoff roster from 2013, swapping prime LaShawn McCoy for DeMarco Murray and Deshaun Jackson for, well, nobody. The Eagles' defense was nothing special either, as it would rank 28th in the league in 2015. Despite the lack of help and the college offense he was forced to run, Sam Bradford was still able to keep the Eagles in playoff contention. And even though they would eventually finish 7-9, he had a lot of factors working against him, so you gotta keep that in mind when you look at his 19 touchdowns to 14 picks. Again, not great, but the team had pretty much quit on Chip Kelly at that point. Beloved left tackle Jason Peters left a crucial Week 16 game against the Redskins at home and reportedly said, "I'm not getting hurt for this." Do you really think this was Sam Bradford's fault?
For 10 yards, and then, of course, as you said, the touchdown.
Oh, he loses the football. Washington scoops it up. D'Angelo Hall. Touchdown, Redskins.
Regardless, Sam Bradford was about to shock the league in 2016, but probably not where or how you'd imagine him doing it. When young Vikings quarterback Teddy Bridgewater tore his ACL just weeks before the season was set to begin, the Vikings were desperate. They traded a first-round pick for Sam Bradford, hoping that even though the preseason was already over and the Vikings were literally getting ready for week 1, somehow, someway, he could save their season. And amazingly, he did. After only having a few weeks to learn the offense, he was able to outplay Aaron Rodgers and beat the Packers at home, despite having a terrible offensive line and having Jerick McKinnon be the top running back. With only 539 rushing yards for the season, Sam Bradford had an incredible year. He threw 20 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. 5. And he set the all-time NFL record for single-season completion percentage with an amazing 71.6%, despite it being his first year in a new offense and never even getting to go through the offseason with the starting lineup. Even though the Vikings missed the playoffs, the future looked bright. Bradford would finally have a full and healthy offseason with an improving, talented team around him. In week 1 of 2017, Sam Bradford lit up a very good Saints defense for 346 yards and 3 touchdowns on Monday Night Football, completing 84% of his passes. 84%. Then it happened again. Before week 2, it was announced that Sam Bradford had complications with his knee, and he'd eventually have to have a knee scope done, which costed him the entire 2017 season. All that potential lost. The Vikings would go on to be 1 game away from playing the very first home Super Bowl in NFL history. Call me crazy, but given how great Sam Bradford played for them all of 2016 and early 2017, I think that they would have made it to the Super Bowl and given the Patriots a run for their money if he had just been able to stay healthy. Entering 2018, it seemed like Sam Bradford's time as an NFL starter was running out. The Vikings completely forgot about him and decided to sign Kirk Cousins to a huge contract. Sam Bradford's only remaining chance to be a starter in the NFL was to be a stopgap quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals until rookie Josh Rosen was ready to play. The situation was terrible. Head coach Steve Wilkes was horribly unprepared to coach a team. The team didn't have much talent in the first place, and it didn't help that they spent their first-round pick on a quarterback instead of helping out Sam Bradford. Bradford got to start the season, but his leash was way too short. He was benched after just 3 games. Yes, he did play badly, throwing 2 touchdowns to 4 picks, but those 3 games were against the Redskins, who started the season 6-3 before Alex Smith got hurt, the Rams, who went to the Super Bowl, and the Bears, who had arguably the NFL's best defense. After they quickly gave up on him, the Cardinals would later cut Sam Bradford in November. The team finished 3-13, got the first pick in the draft, and fired their head coach after just 1 season. Honestly, I don't think it's fair to blame Sam Bradford for his failure to play well in this situation. He had one of the worst offensive lines in the entire league, a receiving group that was average at best, and a defense that was downright awful, and had honestly quit on the team by mid-season. So that leaves us in 2019. As of June, Sam Bradford remains unsigned. Apparently, he's been contacted by 0 teams all offseason. Now, this is my personal opinion, but I find that completely unbelievable. He's shown that he can play at a very high level when he's given solid pieces around him. This is a guy who set the NFL record for single-season completion percentage. I can understand the argument that he can't stay healthy for 16 games, but there's absolutely no way that you're going to convince me that he wouldn't be a great backup quarterback. And honestly, I truly believe that if Sam Bradford had been surrounded by at least good, not great, talent at some point in his career, he'd be a guy who we talk about as being a top pocket passer in the league and maybe has 1 or 2 Super Bowl appearances. But unfortunately, it looks like it's too late for Sam Bradford, and that's a shame if you ask me. Anyways, guys, that's all for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Am I wrong for believing in Sam Bradford? Am I just making too many excuses for him? Do you think that what happened was his fault, or was he just a victim of circumstance? I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and until next time, peace out.